here. The first one here is vote to reorganize the Board of Selectmen. At the request of Vice Chairman Canty, we're gonna move this down a little bit in the agenda so he can enjoy a few more unfettered moments.
Trying to give Josh that much time to maybe change his mind.
A power grab. All right, so that brings us to the sewer revised rate change. I can make that motion. I move to approve the FY22 revised rate for sewer to $11.58 per 100 cubic feet.
Seconded.
Discussion. Maybe you can explain this rate to us, Tony, and how it.
Yes. So we basically, when we go through the budget process, and which ultimately turns in, is how we discover what rate we're going to charge for the upcoming year. We're looking at how much money, it's all built off of how much money we're going to spend in the upcoming year. And the bulk of those costs are the assessments. So for sewer, it's the Lynn Water Sewer Assessment. Last year, as we were building our budget, we were asked by the Lynn Water Sewer Treatment Plant essentially to plan for a 40 to 50% increase in our rates in our assessment. So that's what we did. That's what we built into last year's budget. And the current sewer rate reflected that. About midway through the fiscal year, Lynn Water Sewer actually signed their new operating maintenance contract, and it wasn't nearly as high as they expected it to be. So that reduction trickles down to us. So what we owe Lynn Water Sewer in assessment was reduced, and that's why this year's town meeting we had a reduction in the upcoming fiscal year's water sewer total budget. So what we're doing here is water sewer bills just went out. It's the third cycle of the fiscal year. We do three bills. What we're asking to do here is for you to approve the revised rate so that we can reduce the sewer rate in accordance with the savings that we're getting from the newly negotiated O&M contract from Lynn Water Sewer and the new reduced assessment to the town. So what we did was we calculated, how much money we looked at what was the predicted amount of volume that was going to be. Well, that's what we did a few months ago. Let me kind of back up. We actually ran how much volume was used in water and sewer. We did the readings, and based on that amount, we calculated how much money we needed to bring in order to meet, what our cost was going to be to Lynn Water Sewer at the end of the fiscal year. And we also looked at what next year's sewer rate is going to be. So we're reducing this year's sewer rate that we've already charged residents on two bills down to this third bill that's going to be flat and equal to the first cycle or the first billing of the next fiscal year. So what was $14.08 is now only $11.58. So long story short, because the assessment was less than what we had estimated, it's resulting in a lower rate for us now, and we're going to carry that forward to next year.
Well, that's a relief. right, as compared to the $14.08 rate that,
No change to the water?
No, only on the sewer side. The water rate is, a separate enterprise account. Well, it's not a separate enterprise account, but it's a separate budgeted amount, and that assessment comes from MWRA. So, we'll still build, we'll bring in, we'll still be bringing in an extra amount of money that'll go into retained earnings so that we still have that, that safety blanket between now and the end of the year. But we won't see an increase in the sewer rate once we go into the next fiscal year, if should you approve this.
sounds good to me. Keeps the rate gyration to a minimum and yeah, makes sense.
Yeah, and I guess the only other thing I would say is if I was, if I'm putting my feet in the shoes of a resident, we ultimately, the amount of money that we're collecting from you is the same that it would have been if we had known, the new number at the beginning of the year. The rate would have been a little somewhere in between $11.58 and $14.08, and it would have just been that rate for 3 billing cycles. But the way that this worked out, the timing of it was the first 2 billing cycles, the rate was a little bit higher, so we're bringing it down to level it all out.
Makes sense to me. Any other discussion? With that, roll call vote.
Mark Cullen, go ahead, Jake, I'm sorry.
Gene Canty, aye.
Mark Cullen and
Chandra, aye. Approve, we have some reserve officers to,
Okay, I move that the Board of Selectmen vote to approve the appointment of John Cassidy as a reserve officer of the Nahant Police Department.
Second.
discussion. I believe Officer Cassidy, has he been working in Swampscott? Is that the, it's been a while since these backgrounds were emailed out, and I got to admit I'm a little fuzzy on the.
I know there were a lot of Cassidy
both
police
of-
in Swampscott.
Both of these officers are retired full-time officers. One, Officer Cassidy in Swampscott, as you mentioned, and the other from Officer Castillo from the city of Lynn.
All right.
So the one of the things they bring to the table, Tony, is that they're fully accredited and they have all the training and all of that stuff. So as a reserve officer, they can sit in to do details and fill in certain important roles when needed.
And especially with the new police reform, reserve officers are required to be fully trained officers now. These are officers that, won't need to go to a full-time academy since they've already had it. They're fully trained and, have great experience, so they can jump right into the job and fill into those, especially now in the summertime. We're so reliant on bringing in those extra call officers. So, yeah.
Wasn't Officer Cassidy a reserve in the past as well here in town?
His brother.
His brother, that's right. Tim?
Yeah. Yep.
Any other discussion on Reserve Officer Cassidy?
Gene Canty, aye.
Mark Cullen and
Josh Antrim, aye.
I move that the Nahant Board of Selectmen vote to approve the appointment of Eric Castillo as a reserve officer on the Nahant Police Department.
Second,
Any discussion on Officer Castillo? All right, roll call vote.
Gene Canty, aye.
Mark Cullen and I.
Josh Edram, aye. Nahant Fire Department call firefighters.
I move that the Nahant Board of Selectmen vote to approve the appointment of Stephen Viviano as a call firefighter on the Nahant Fire Department.
Second,
Any discussion?
Again, Tony, I see that, I know that Stephen is a firefighter in Revere, and I know that Adam is coming up next. He is also a firefighter in Marblehead, so this seems to follow the same theme that the police department was doing.
Yeah, I mean, our fire department, call fireman numbers have been, something that we've tried to build up just in the last few years. We lost a lot of good call firemen to, firefighters to, aging out and forced into retirement essentially. So, building up that reserve list is extremely important for us because of, especially, being able to, residents who are firefighters, maybe not for Nahant, but for other towns, who are in town and can help respond to fires when they're off duty, is, just such a value for us. So, like I said, that's
I
the
agree.
situation with Steve and Adam.
just a question on Adam Hatfield Jr. He is Adam Hatfield's son, obviously. He's not a firefighter in Marblehead, is he?
He is.
A full-time?
Yep.
Oh, I didn't know that.
He was a firefighter in Nahant for a number of years, and he transferred to Marblehead a number of years ago.
Okay.
And, both of these guys have, even though they haven't been call firefighters, technically, have been on scene in previous fires where they've helped our officers, roll our firefighters roll out hose or get a hydrant going, so they've already, have been serving the town in an unofficial role. So they're familiar with our guys and our equipment, and it's a great fit for us.
Okay, let's vote on Stephen Viviano. Roll call vote.
Gene Canty, aye.
Mark Cullen and
Josh Edram, aye.
I move that the Nahant Board of Selectmen vote to approve the appointment of Adam Hatfield Jr. as a call firefighter on the Nahant Fire Department.
Second,
Any discussion? Hearing and seeing none, roll call vote.
Gene Canty, aye.
Mark Cullen and
Josh Edram, aye.
I move that the Nahant Board of Selectmen vote to approve the appointment of Byron Doherty as a call firefighter on the Nahant Fire Department.
Second,
Any discussion about Brian?
Tony, could you tell us who Brian is? I'm not quite sure I know
Brian's new. I was just looking for the background that Austin had sent me on Brian, but he'll be going into the academy. He'll be going into the call academy. So he's a new recruit.
I'm sure if the chief is recommending him, he's a good recruit.
Yeah.
Any other discussion? Roll call vote.
Gene Canty, aye.
Mark Cullen and I.
Josh Edram, aye. And we have a bunch of event requests.
I'll do these, I guess. I move that the Nahant Board of Selectmen vote to approve the following event requests. Johnson School Field Day on Monday, June 13th, 2022, starting at 9 a.m. at the Flash Road soccer fields. Also, the basketball tournament event requested by Jake Canty on Saturday, June 18th, 2022, starting at 1 a.m. at the Spring Road basketball courts.
It's 1 PM, just in case
Excuse-
concerned neighbors are on the phone.
I said 1 a.m. I'm sorry about that. And the last is on the Nahant Firefighters Association 2718 Charitable Cornhole Tournament on Saturday, August 27th, 2022 at the Flash Road Park, starting at 11 a.m.
Second,
Any discussion? They all sound like fun. Roll call vote.
Gene Canty, aye.
Mark and I.
Josh Antrim, aye. Okay, now we return to one we've all been waiting for, reorganization of Board of Selectmen. All right, Mark, you want to make first motion here?
Yeah, hold on one second. Let me scroll down here. I gotta go back, actually, right?
Get back, yeah.
Okay. I move to appoint Gene Canty as chairman of the Board of Selectmen.
Seconded. I think probably just you and I are gonna vote on this, Mark.
Okay.
Mark
Mark and I.
Josh Antrim, aye. Congratulations, Gene.
Thank you. And I just think it should be known that I did everything I could to keep you in that seat.
Well, you can't break tradition here, Gene, so
I know it, yeah.
thank you for stepping up here.
I know both you guys, I really have appreciated the time that I have spent with you and not only learned a lot, but respect a lot of what you do and how you do it. And both Mark and Josh, it's been great. I wish it was by performance and not by tradition.
We got your back, Gene. Don't worry about it.
Thank you.
Definitely appreciate the kind words.
Not gonna work. That doesn't work, huh?
I move to appoint Mark Cullinan as vice chairman of the Board of Selectmen.
Second,
Josh Antrim, aye.
Gene Canty, aye.
And there's one for you, Gene, motion there.
Okay, I'm already losing it.
I get it, Gene. I move to appoint Josh Antrim as recording secretary of the Board of Selectmen.
And I will second it.
So now you guys have to vote.
Gene Canty, aye.
Mark and I.
All right. Reorganized. So I guess that means, Gene, you get to announce ongoing business.
Let me see if I can do that. Okay, now we'll move to ongoing business. The town administrator goals, which I'll pass back to you, Josh.
All right, so we talked about this a couple meetings ago. We went through the goals we had drafted for Tony. There were a couple that when we had them all compiled, we thought needed a bit of revision. So I took a stab at revising those goals, and Tony, I don't know if you've seen those yet. I also snuck in a new one, which we can discuss. Is it possible for you to share those on the screen?
Yeah.
We won't go through the ones we've already agreed upon, but just the ones that were slightly revised.
Okay, hold on. My screens are backwards, so my mouse, is right when it needs to go left.
Yeah.
Here we go. I got you. I'm on it. Can you see it?
Yes. And maybe you wanna, are the markups shown in the comments, or you have to scroll down to see it, anyone that you, yeah, okay. Right, so number 4 there, you see my chat on the right side there, that had been written as quarterly. status reviews, and I think we had talked about that being maybe too frequent or not meeting the schedule of the CPC committee, and so I just changed that to reviews with the status of new and completed planned CPC projects. I also eliminated the ones related to the school based on the discussion last time that the school, has an elected school committee, and so they are really the right ones to address that. And I also reworded 6.5 to be consistent with the article that was passed at annual town meeting, so that those new wording there provide for professional technical assistance services to support town with understanding our housing needs, establishing housing goals, and identifying housing strategies, which may lead to the development of a housing production plan or other housing strategy. Those are copied directly from the article at annual town meeting. So that should be pretty straightforward, I think. And then number 9 there, this is the one I slipped in. So we should take a moment to talk about this. Something that Tony and I had talked a little bit about the other day. Seeing if we can make some progress. It seems like we have identified the locations of these rights of way, and in my opinion, it would be nice to start making sure those get marked. So I don't know, Tony, Gene, Mark, any thoughts on the
I'll jump in a little, Josh, here. I think Little Nahant has been surveyed pretty thoroughly, and we know the rights of way in Little Nahant. There are a few other areas in Nahant. I think we had divided the town into 10 segments. We did survey. I'm not sure, Tony. You might have done some since I left in 2012, but Little Nahant was done. The second area was basically Bass Point area to Spring Road. Those have all been identified and researched. I'm not quite sure the rest of the town. We've done the research that's necessary for the deed and registry of deed research. But I do support the effort to continue this and begin marking these rights of way as public rights of ways. It may require a little bit more work, but yeah, I just don't think everything has been identified yet.
Yeah, and I deliberately made it kind of a soft goal by saying make progress on, with some of those things in mind.
Did the, I know the planning board had put a lot of work into those rights of way, and they were performing certain actions and follow up on getting those things corrected. Has that been completed? Do we know?
So the planning board, I think when you were on there,
Yep.
was when a lot of when the surveying work of Little Nahant was completed. The next step, really that's about as far as the planning board's jurisdiction goes. As far as, getting encroachments removed, it kind of gets elevated up to my office and your office. So I know the previous town administrator and myself, along with Dan Script, wrote letters and visited the abutters of the rights of ways in Little Nahant. Each one of them is unique. There's definitely not a one size fits all approach. So they've all been put on notice. That was my first year. So that was right before COVID hit. And a lot of it kind of got put on the shelf. So, but we have some sales or construction of properties that are abutting or encroaching, and we're working with the owners or contractors to make repairs or fixes on those encroachments before they go up for sale. And there's a legal process that's involved in some of these that, it just changes. Like I said, each one is kind of unique. So as far as like what has been done so far, it's the communication, it's gone for Little Nahant. It's been surveyed, noticed, in-person communication. Now the next step, really, it's been like 2 years since we've done anything because of everything else that's been going on. But
Right.
the next step is to kind of go one by one and start making like, an action plan for those ones that have the survey. You really need that survey to help you with the legal case that you're making. So
I would certainly be, Mr. Chairman, be willing to sit down with Tony and Dan to look at what else needs to be done for the rest of the town, and perhaps develop a schedule or a timeline. As Tony said, Little Nahant is definitely done. Little Nahant is all land court registered, so it is what it is. The rest of Nahant is not necessarily land court registered. Dan, jump in anytime you want here, but I would love to sit down with you, Tony, and Dan, and put a plan together.
Yeah, there's actually, you're actually right. You are right. There's a definitive plan in land court that actually is dated, I think, like right around 1910, that sort of shows how all these lots were split up originally by the Nahant Land Company. And believe it or not, those rights of ways are pretty much registered right there. We have some issues with the wording of the deed just back then and the ones that have come subsequently, but most of them are pretty clearly delineated in terms of paper. And as Tony mentioned, we're working with the new owner at 138 Wilson Road to clear that out. And hopefully that'll create some momentum, and we'll take it up Wilson Road and around the turn into Nahant Road and go from there.
Tell you who's got a great knowledge of all this is Cal Hastings.
yes,
If we wanted to bring him in a meeting and discuss it, or attend his meetings.
and I've also kept I've asked the CPC to not pull back the previous funding that was allocated for rights of ways. So we have funding, CPC funding, waiting to be used to, and that funding would basically be used for, when I like how you wrote in this goal, marking public rights of ways. So marking to me is not only just signage or a painted marking on the road, but it's clearly defining the sides, the end of these rights of ways.
Right.
So we can use those funds to buy set of stairs, buy plantings, fencing, signage, anything that's going to make the right of way clearly marked and available to the public. So, especially with Little Nahant, there's these rights of ways are not flat. Many of them are significant drop off from the street. And then when you get to the edge there, they go all the way to the coast. It's a significant drop off to rocks and cliff. So, I'm not going to just open rights of ways without having the funding to make sure that they're safe for people.
Right. Exactly.
And make sure, and I also don't want to just go and, bulldoze, so to speak, property. I want to make sure that we're being, that we're taking them back, we're doing the right thing, but we're working with the abutters who may have absorbed an encroachment when they purchased the property, and we're trying to find a way that we get these rights of ways open and available, but also, work with the abutters as best as we can too. So trying to, go at it the best way possible.
Tony, just one final thing here. I think you're absolutely right, Tony. Particularly in opening some of the rights of way along the heart, that the most important things. I think we know what are the public ways. Whether you open them to the public because of safety issues is a whole different matter. So we need to be careful with that. It's like I said earlier, land court. Little Nahant is all land court. We know what it is. Basically, the butters of the rights of way, I think, know that they abut right away. There is some encroachment on some of them, and we need to deal with that at a future date. But as you get into into Big Nahant and some of the other areas, it's not entirely clear what the right of ways are or where they are. So I think a lot of research has to go into that. I'll give you one example in Little Nahant. When we were all growing up, there was a right of way that went from Howe Road to Shaw Beach. We all thought that was a town right of way. And we didn't realize until they started the development of all of those new houses on Nahant Road, Little Nahant Road, and Howe Road, that in fact it wasn't a public right of way. It was a right of way that was dedicated to the property owners on the Howe estate. When I think there were 26 property owners there. At that time, the town was successful in negotiating with all of the 26 property owners to turn over their rights to the town. So it is now a town right away. But there are many of those around town. Gene, there are a number of them up by your house. That go down to the water in Lafayette Terrace and those areas. But we don't have the information right now to, delineate where those rights of ways are. So I think we need a lot of work to do when we get into Big Nahant. Before we, as Tony has said, Little Nahant is very clear. He knows where it is and who owns it. Big Nahant is a whole another kettle of worms. I remember when I first started as town administrator, Tony, that there used to be a preambulation around Nahant, and after the second year, I was like, "Whoa, I don't know if I want to join that because I'm not sure whose property I'm walking on here." And so until we figure that out, I think we have to be careful.
So where do we begin at reapproaching this again?
Well, as I said, Gina, we had originally divided the town into 10 map segments. I believe we have done all of the legal research and survey for 3 of those segments: Little Nahant, Bass Point up to Spring Road. But the rest of Nahant, I don't believe we've done yet. So I think that's where we begin.
Okay.
I think the planning board could help us out with
definitely.
as far as like the mapping out process on Big Nahant. Certainly a CPC eligible grant application. And then as far as the town actually making like physical improvements to the land, that's something that I'm going to be working on, over the next year, per these goals, and try and picking off like the low hanging fruit, the easiest ones, the ones that we have the fund, have enough money to do what it takes to reopen them. Like I said, not everyone is different. So it's just kind of coming up with that action plan and following through with it.
Well, the planning board will be reorganizing at their next meeting. And maybe we could go from there and decide on who to contact to get it started over there. You've got a good relationship with Cal, Tony.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea, Mr. Chairman, and maybe like I said, I'd be, as a member of the board who has some experience in this, be willing to work with sort of a member of the planning board, Tony and Dan, and sort of start planning out putting a plan together for this.
Excellent.
All right, so it sounds like we're all good with these revised words of the existing goals and the addition of this new goal.
The only other thing I'd bring up was, when we spoke earlier, the these say March 2022 to March 2023. Where we are starting June, it might make sense for these goals to kind of align with the fiscal year.
Yep.
And that'd give me 13 months to get them done.
I agree, and it makes sense, based on today's date of being June 1st, but it also makes sense based on following town meeting, so that articles passed at town meeting can sort of be folded into your goals for the upcoming year. So I definitely support that change. Mark and Jean, do you have any thoughts on that? So it would be July 1st to July 1st, or
I think it makes sense because a lot of these goals are dependent on funding that has been approved at town meeting. It doesn't begin until July 1st, so I think it's a good idea.
Likewise.
all right. So I'll volunteer to put this in the same template that we had it in last year, where we all sign off on the document, and Tony has a chance to write comments at the bottom, and it gets submitted into his personnel folder.
Right.
Trying to get-
I think that's good, Josh. Mr. Chairman, I also recommend that we follow Josh's when he decided last year to, take a look at the votes of town meeting. Maybe we can have like a quarterly review of town meeting vote and how we're progressing on that. I thought that was an excellent exercise last year.
Okay, yeah, I'll get together with Josh on that and take it from him.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Thanks for mentioning that, Mark. All right, so I'll get these typed up onto the template and up to Kristen so that we can all sign off. So preserving East Point is next on the agenda.
Right.
Sorry to.
Okay. I was making some notes.
Okay.
Who's handling preserving East Point here?
Well, I can provide one quick update. On May 20th, there was a hearing at Salem Superior Court on the Article 97 case, which is the case where the claim is that Northeastern dedicated this property as conservation land. And I think Northeastern filed for, oh my gosh.
A summary judgment. Right?
Yeah, summary judgment, meaning the judge decides, yes or no right now. And so that meeting happened, and I believe the judge has, I think it's 60 days to decide his opinion on that. And if he does not rule in favor of summary judgment, it goes to a jury trial sometime in the fall. That's the only update I had.
Any further discussion? Anybody?
Nope.
Nope.
Okay. Where are we going to now? Town administrators report.
All right, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have I have quite a lot. So at any point, feel free to, stop me and ask a question.
Just FYI, Tony, you're still sharing the goals on the screen.
Thank you. So, first off, as we talked about earlier, town meeting about a week ago now, and we had 80 or so folks who stayed the whole way, and so appreciative of all the folks who are involved, from the Board of Selectmen, the Finance Committee, the moderator, the town clerk, the CPC, and all the residents, and the poll workers. There's just so much like that. That process starts back in December, and there's so many different things that probably don't see from the outside, that goes into having that be successful. And I'm just so grateful for everybody that was involved in our team, because once again it was a successful town meeting that I felt like we were well prepared for, that we had a lot of support from the residents on the things we were promoting. A lot of great questions were asked, from, from start to finish. That process, takes a lot of work and a lot of people, a lot of time, and it shows off in the end, when you have a successful meeting like that. So I'm very appreciative of that. And as you guys mentioned, Memorial Day, the Memorial Day committee, the Manzanos were at town meeting. The Manzanos were announced as the Citizens of the Year, and they really take the lead on the Memorial Day committee too. And honestly, they really handle it from start to finish. Letting us know what we need to do to prepare for it, getting everybody involved in the parade, the DPW, the police, the fire, the elected officials, all the participants, they have a role in it too. But you need that committee really to ensure a successful day, and it definitely was. So very appreciative to the Memorial Day committee and everybody involved in the event on Monday.
It's interesting. It's interesting as you were going through the meeting and the Memorial Day parade. The one word that comes to mind is really seamless. They were seamless. They were just moved along, never stopped, and accomplished everything that you wanted. Great job.
Again, it's so probably one of the best. Allison and I were laughing a little bit about this. So before town meeting, the finance committee met, right before town meeting to do their final votes, and they had a similar comment, Gene. They had said, they commended Allison for, how seamless she made it seem for them, and how like things progressed throughout the last couple months, and how smooth the process was this year. And Allison and I were like chuckling as they were saying that, because behind the scenes, it's frantic. it's chaos. There's so much going on. And so from when you get a compliment like that, Mark, being in my position, when you get the compliment of like, wow, it was so seamless, it went so smooth, like that's the best compliment you can get, because it means you were able to handle everything, and the final product was enjoyed by those who received it. So
I think, Tony, what it really reflects is that the collaboration that you and Allison and your team had with the finance committee, and the finance committee with you, You both have different jobs to do, but you do them in unison, and you're cooperating with each other, and it makes for a very smooth town meeting. It's like you said, it's not as if you don't have differences in those meetings on Monday nights or whenever you meet with the finance committee, because I'm sure you both go at it once in a while, but you work it out behind the scenes. And as a result of that, you're able to present a very smooth town meeting. So,
Yeah. And I gave the example of the Thursday night meeting before town meeting, where we did our like dress rehearsal with the finance committee and the moderator. And, a question about the sewer borrowing and the percentage rate for the loan came up. Allison went and, looked that up, sent it to me the next day, at 10 p.m. the night before town meeting, when I was finishing to put all my book and all of my info together. I printed that email and stuffed it in that section of the binder. And then what do you know? It came up during town meeting, and I had the answer printed out right there. I was able to answer it on the floor, showed all the confidence in the world to the resident who was asking the question, was like that we knew the answer. And so it's like something like that where, by doing those things, by spending the extra time and kind of getting together and being prepared, it works out to end up being, a successful meeting. So I just was, it dates back to, like I said, it dates back to December and a lot of hard work. And anyways, I'm just very pleased and happy with how everybody worked together and how it turned out. So after town meeting, I was away last week, and came back on Sunday. I was here for the parade on Monday, and back to work yesterday and today. So definitely kind of climbing out of a hole of, anything that I missed last week. And then certainly there were things in the last 2 weeks leading up to town meeting that kind of got put on the shelf. So a lot to do now. So I have a ton of quick updates. Council on Aging's back open. They were closed, heading into prior to town meeting, but they're back open to the public. The police department notified me of a coyote incident that occurred while I wasn't in town. I put a call in with our dog officer. I know that the resident involved in this situation has spoken with him. So I'm looking to get, that information and see what our next step is, potentially, dealing with the state and Mass Wildlife on that. And it's been a hot topic, in our town, and one, an issue of concern for residents. So that's on my list to follow up and see what our next step is going to be there. July 9th fireworks are confirmed. We'll be having the fireworks on the 9th. So between now and the 15th, putting final details together and getting ready for a group meeting with, police, fire, DPW, emergency management, and getting our final plans put together for the 9th. It sounds like the races, the youth races and the adult road race are going to be on the 4th of July. And we are working with the committee to try to finalize those details. I haven't heard much about a Horribles parade yet. So trying to figure out if we're going to have a Horribles parade the night before. So working on that, on the details for the celebrations for 4th of July. It is June 1st, so we're at the end of our current fiscal year. So there's a lot of work to be done between our accountant and all of our department heads, working on, getting any outstanding bills paid, balancing their accounts, putting in any requests for encumbrances or requests for budget transfers. That's kind of the next few weeks process for all of the department heads. And if there's any budget transfers that might need to occur, we would have a joint meeting with you three and the finance committee before the end of June to complete that process. And tomorrow, Allison is actually on her first implementation call with Munis. So, we're jumping right into that process of starting to switch over to that's going to be a long time, but the first call starts tomorrow. We do qualify for a single audit because of the funding amount, because of the money that we got through COVID and ARPA. So I will be bringing an audit plan to your attention at the next meeting for you all to review and sign off on. Let's see, water and sewer bills went out, as I mentioned earlier, they went out, so they'll be due in a month. We have the National Grid work on Castle Road. I wanted to give a quick update. Phase 1 is basically from Nahant Road, where the Coast Guard station is, all the way to Flash Road. That should be complete within the next couple weeks. After school breaks for the summer, they'll be going into phase 2, which is from Flash Road to Gardner. And then phase 3, that will go probably till about September. And then phase 3 is adding a main down Goddard Drive, which would only be another week or two after that. So maybe goes into the end of September, early October. That portion of Castle Road was paved in the last couple of years. So we've had a couple calls with National Grid about the importance of keeping that as nice as possible. I had them agreeing to a center line to curb repavement for that section of the work, instead of like a 6-foot wide trench cover. We'll also have to work with them on trash collection. So while that area of town gets picked up on Thursday mornings, so we'll have to work with them on maybe delaying the start of work till a little bit later in the morning, so that waste management can get around and collect trash before the roads get detoured. And of course, we'll have to communicate that with the residents in the area too. So there's a lot of little details involved in that section of their work. Also tonight is a big milestone for the Linway sewer project. They'll be pulling a 1,000-foot section. I don't know if anyone drove down the Linway in the last day or two, you would have seen that 1,000-foot section in the median. So it's already fused together above ground, and now tonight they're going to be pulling it through. So that's a big milestone for the job. Keeping our fingers crossed that goes well tonight. Flash Road courts. So while I was away, the contractor reached out to Zach that their subcontractor for the painting of Flash Road courts is available next week. So Zach signed them up to come in and get the courts painted, which means we might potentially be doing a ribbon cutting in a couple weeks here and reopening the courts. At this point, I've told them to go ahead and paint the courts without the pickleball lines. So I'm trying to make progress in finding an alternative location for pickleball while we work together to find a permanent dedicated location for pickleball. And we can always add lines later. It's easier to add paint than take it away. So it's exciting that we'll hopefully be, cutting the ribbon to another recreational facility that's been, kind of in need of repair for, a long time. We're also working very hard on scheduling the farmers markets for this summer. So we'll be doing our first one in July, and then August, September, and October. They'll be on a consistent Saturday. So if it's going to be the second Saturday or the third Saturday, we're still finalizing that detail. We'll put information out to the public as soon as it's finalized, but we are making progress there. So it'll be a Saturday each month of July, August, September, and October.
Hey, Tony, on the pickleball issue, if they want this discussion about temporarily putting tape down, if that group wishes to do that, is that an okay and approved?
It's not an okay yet. I'm going to be, the last time I spoke with the pickleball group was the finance committee meeting days before town meeting. And then, after town meeting, I was away for a week. And at that meeting, I, promised that I would get together with them to find an alternative location for them while we work together to, submit an application to CPC next year for a permanent dedicated location. So I want to see that through. I'd prefer to find them an alternative location somewhere else and allow for, the kids to be able to enjoy the new tennis courts and basketball courts. And I want to give that some effort. So I haven't had a chance to meet to discuss with them. But if we can't find some alternative location, certainly, like I said, adding tape or paint later is always an option.
Okay. All right.
What else do I have here? The town we had today in our department head meeting, we had Clifton Larson Allen, who's conducting our human resources analysis, come and do an overview with all the department heads and schedule one-on-ones with each of them. So that process, is ongoing. What we're doing there is they're looking at our HR functions where we, can improve. They're doing a similar analysis for the town of Swampscott. And then both of those analyses are kind of being laid over each other to see if there's any regionalization application for both towns that'll help, make improvements. So that project is ongoing. The Friday before town meeting, we submitted an application to EEA for a planning grant related to the housing, related to zoning requirements for the MBTA multifamily housing, chapter 3. 3A. Section 3A of chapter 40, I think it is.
That's right, section 3.
Yeah. So we submitted a grant to EEA. MAPC would be our partner on this. They would pay, for $0 from the town, they would pay our municipal share and use the grant to help guide us through the process whenever we see the new guidelines from DHCD. So we got that application submitted, which is good. Hopefully we get good news there and we can link that up with the CPC money that was approved at town meeting. And then we have other grants that we are seeking sooner than later. Their deadlines are mid-June. Many dealing with coastal climate change preparedness. So our CZM grant for 40 steps and Short Beach Dune, our hazard mitigation grant for Short Beach Dune, those are ones that we're working on and trying to get done in the next week and 2 weeks. So more to come on that as well. And I'll stop there.
Well, sounds like you got a busy week ahead. Hope you enjoyed your vacation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, just a couple of things. We can discuss most of this later, but on paving, are they going to begin paving in town?
Yes, so we put a paving list together. Procurement's the next step. We were seeing if we were trying, the biggest problem with paving for the town of Nahant usually is that the cost of mobilizing equipment all the way out here into Nahant tends to increase our cost of the job. So I was asking, we reached out to Swampscott to see if they had put a procurement out yet. And sometimes by doing a joint procurement, we're able to get a better rate. So that's where we are right now, but the plan is to be doing spring paving very soon.
Is the paving plan that's on the website, is that up to date?
It is, but I guess it's not, we've adjusted it once in a while, like every year we'll adjust it based on any type of work. Like, so National Grid, like the section of Nahant Road from Pond Street down to Spring, wasn't due for this year. But then National Grid had done that, gas main work last year. So it really needs to be done. So, it's moved up in the list. So it is on the website. We try to follow that as close as possible.
Okay. Another question I have, apparently there was an article in the Globe about water testing in the different communities. And it indicated that Lynn Swampscott, Kings Beach, Lynn Beach were very low in their water testing results. When do we do ours and how often do we do ours, Tony?
We just started testing the beaches this week. We do them, I think, 3 times a week.
Oh,
Yeah, Kings Beach, that combined sewer
outfall.
and stormwater outfall pipe there, has led to many shutdowns and high bacteria count. They're dealing with a very difficult issue over there. Luckily it doesn't travel over to our beaches.
Right.
So we only, if we only really make an announcement if a beach is going to be closed.
Understood. Just checking that. I was curious. Mark, Jeff, George, anything?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, on that beach testing, Tony, do you know what day of week we do our testing?
We do.
I hate to put you on the spot, but if you don't know offhand, you can let me know.
I think it's usually Monday, Wednesday, and Saturday. Wednesday, Saturday, I think.
So is this 3 times a week something that's relatively new? So I remember only doing it once a week.
You know, I honestly,
You can-
Mark, let me double check.
Right. Yeah. The only reason I bring it up is because beach testing is something I always had a problem with. Because I'm not quite sure what we're testing sometimes. You know, you take a test and it tests, say, high bacteria. Well, the high bacteria could have been the day you were testing or the day before. And then the following day, you know, the test is fine. So, I mean, so you're telling people to stay off the beach because it was tested positive, but that positive test was a result of yesterday.
48 hours ago.
Yeah, most cases. And then it's at least 24 hours before minimum, sometimes more likely 48, before you can resample and test again and get the results. Because the state used to come in and do it like on Thursday for us, had a schedule. And I get the results back on Friday morning saying your beach is closed. I'm like, oh my God, right? For the weekend. Right.
Right.
And I remember saying to the state, we'll do our own testing. We'll do it on Monday.
So we definitely do Monday because I got results today.
Okay, good. Because it gives you, you know, 24, 48 hours to retest before the weekend.
Right.
And it's very important. I mean, there's not a lot of weekends in our summers here. So, you know, to lose a whole weekend from our beaches is important to a lot of people.
Yeah, definitely.
So, yeah, so if you can get them tested like, you know, like on Monday or Tuesday, at least it gives you another testing round before the weekend.
I was just looking back at, Mary Lowe used to send out weekly status, right? And so those would come out once a week. And I was just looking at one that, where Black Rock Beach flunked, and then 2 days later it passed again. So it sounds like if you have a fail, they test.
We test, we
9 times out of 10, and they're usually rain related, Josh. You know, if you have a heavy downpour, you have a lot of runoff, you may get a high bacteria count, and then the following day it's fine.
Well, listen, while we're talking about this and Mark's making the suggestion, why don't we decide on what days are best and what days we can do it?
Yeah,
I don't think we're kind of talking without all the information.
yeah, okay.
So let me find out, you know, what days we're testing. We definitely test Monday. Whether we test again before the weekend, you know, let me double check. So let me get that information and then we can talk more about it after that.
And do we test all beaches?
We test all the beaches that we own
Yeah.
that are public.
Okay. Mark, Josh, anything else?
Nope, not for me.
No. Well said.
We want to go to citizens forum? Anybody out there? Hello?
Anything in your chat, Tony?
No.
I got nothing. Thank you all. It's been a great Memorial Day.
Thank you, Brendan. Tony, you see anybody? Josh?
Michelle?
Thanks, Tony. Hi, good evening. Michelle Capano, Ocean Street. My question is regarding the MBTA's plans to redesign the bus routes for the North Shore and the meeting that's coming up next Wednesday. And how is Nahant positioning themselves regarding the proposed changes?
Where is that
well-
being held?
It's a virtual meeting, so it's going to be online via Zoom.
Okay.
So we got an email from the MBTA, I think last week. I was going through my emails that, I missed while I was on vacation. And if I remember it correctly, it was talking about that meeting, and it briefly described some of the, it kind of talked about the changes for the entire region. So, we'll take a closer look at it. We'll be in attendance for that meeting. Any comments that we might want to provide, as we typically do, we'll make sure that the public's aware and probably take the lead on submitting a letter if necessary. Have you had a chance, Michelle, to review the plan?
Yeah, I have, and I've responded by email to all of you. So the
Yeah.
plan is to eliminate the morning schedules, which are around 6:30 and 7:45, and replace them with a 9:30, 10:30, and noon time, and then eliminate the evening commute. So for people that work in the city, because most of the people that I've seen take the bus are going into Boston or connecting via Wonderland, that's a significant impact. For the folks I've talked to that have been taking the bus, I mean, we understand it's around, centralizing the transportation needs for the area and really rapid transit back and forth to Wonderland, because that's been a challenge for the residents of the North Shore. So I think people agree with that. But to eliminate an evening commute is going to be challenging. And the proposed times for the morning commute don't make any sense to the working people who work in the city between, if you work your day is 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. Just don't understand where the data is that they're getting that from. So that's a challenge.
Yeah, I agree that those, Michelle, I remember you sent that email identifying those new times, and without knowing the background behind why those times were changed, it didn't make a lot of sense to me, because anyone likely to use the bus service in Nahant is most likely a commuter. So it seemed counterintuitive to me.
So I guess the ask I have is to also reach out to Representative Capano and Senator Creighton. Creighton sits on, I believe he's chair of the Transportation Committee for the state, and really ask for their support around, reevaluating these changes by the MBTA, and coming up with a proposal that makes sense for, the true business commuter. If they want to limit it to one trip a day, I wouldn't have a problem with that. I use the bus. I mean, I've been doing it for the last 4 years, but the current proposal is definitely going to be a disadvantage. And I think the other thing to note, obviously with the rising gas prices, people are going to hit a threshold of how often they're going to start driving into the city. How, they're going to look for alternate means. It is an opportunity for the MBTA to possibly capitalize. And so, if more people know about this and the options that's available, they may see an increase in ridership.
That's a good point, Michelle. We'll jump on it, and we'll definitely seek. We typically ask Rep. Capano and Senator Creighton to help us out. I'm sure they will. I'm sure they'll be happy to join on with our comments.
Okay, thanks. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Anyone else out there? Okay, do I have a motion for adjournment?
I move to adjourn.
Seconded.
Roll call vote.
Mark Cullen, aye.
Josh Evermine.
Gene Canty, aye. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you. Good night.
Have a great